Good afternoon, welcome to VANIK-IAS. We'll discuss current affair of 28 May. First topic is carbon dioxide emission embodied in international trade. Why carbon dioxide emission to be included in international is important. The growing consumption of rich countries has become a cost of developing countries such as India. Now, world is facing a severe crisis, that is climate change. The land degradation has increased by 29%, and in the last 20 years, the productivity, agricultural productivity has declined by 18 percentage, and rainfall has also changed. Rainfall pattern has also changed. And because of the climate change, the major countries who are responsible are the developed countries, the industrialized countries, whatever consume and consumption of India is hardly less than 1 by 30th% of the Europe. Right? So energy consumption of developed countries, especially Western Europe and the developed like USA, Japan, that is much more higher than India or any other developing countries. The global, for example, India being a developing country, the per capita energy consumption is less than the world average. So as because of industrialization and modernization and your industrial development, the environment impact caused majorly by the developed countries, not by developing countries, right? So as this problem that is has been as this problem is created by the developed countries, that should be solved by the developed countries itself. This is what we have said in Kyoto Protocol, right? In Kyoto Protocol, they have said that common but differentiated approach. The meaning is that those who are responsible for this crisis should pay the more, and also mm, those who are financially who have more strength, they should pay the more. Everybody should contribute, but everybody will contribute differently. That is what Kyoto Protocol has said regarding the contribution regarding climate to combat climate change. Okay. So various means has developed to purchase carbon, for example, to purchase carbon or reduce carbon emission. For example, two things. One is funding to the developing countries. One is we can funding to for afforestation. Right, afforestation is important regarding climate change. Or we can all the developed countries, they can make technology transfer. Right, they have high developed technology that are energy efficient technology. They can transfer them to gaseous mode, or for example, renewable energy, right? That is solar energy or wind power energy, the geothermal energy or nuclear energy. The government of India has placed around to manufacture 450 gigawatt of energy by renewable energy by 2030, and to achieve net neutrality regarding carbon emission by 2070. Okay. So in Paris Climate Deal also there is a commitment to reduce the rise in temperature below 2 degree to the pre-industrial level. So various governments have promised different ambitious targets. India has achieved. India is the only country who has achieved the targets they have made in Paris Climate Deal. Okay. So in such a scenario, what are the other steps that can be taken in international arena to combat climate change? We'll study in detail. So first thing, this is about carbon dioxide emission embodied in international trade. The uncertainties in global economic environment have been believed have created export opportunities for countries like India. Right? This is an opportunity for countries like India, right? Because there is a supply chain broken down and there is uncertainties in the global economic environment. Some countries their production is very low, their GDP growth is very been reduced to 2%, 3%. Right? It's an opportunity for countries like India to boost. For example, In after 2008 financial crisis, it is the China that came out of the crisis robustly. Similarly, it is the opportunity for India. Uncertainty is significantly driven by Russia's invasion of Ukraine and the resultant sanctions of Russia by the West, along with Sri Lanka's ongoing struggles to stay afloat amidst deepening crisis. So now there is a the world economic crisis booming after the post-pandemic and because of Russia and Ukraine war. There is breakdown of supply chain. There is constraints regarding manufacturing and production, and there is economic crisis that goes on Sri Lanka, and there is the indigenous economy of Russia and Ukraine that also hampered significantly. So there is worldwide inflation, there is low growth worldwide, there is recession. So all these things have been happened after the post-pandemic because there is rise in oil prices because of the supply and demand chain mismatch. So there is uncertainties in the global economic market. Okay, how carbon dioxide emissions embodied in the international trade? As for environmental coordinates score, there is an inverted U-shaped relationship between income of a country and environmental degradation. Income of a country and environmental degradation. As the income increases, environmental quality begins to deteriorate. It says that as the income increases, environmental quality begins to deteriorate, but it improves after some time. Hence, there is no consensus among the studies with respect to the possibility. That means, a developing countries who is developing, who is getting industrialized initially, there will be huge pollution, right? After a certain level of income, when people have become developed, there is a the country become full of resources. It can invest in a huge amount of money in environment, right? They can invest in a huge amount of money in environment, and that will ensure a better betterment of the environment. So, according to Gosnett score, after a particular time, after a particular income of a country can invest huge amount of resources towards the environment and combating climate change, which earlier it was not able to do. Right? Earlier it was not able to do uh, because of lack of resources when a country is in developing stage. Emission embodied resource data analysis. Performance of developed countries. Most developed countries are the net importers of polluted goods produced elsewhere. Net importers of polluted goods, especially in the developing countries. Net importers of polluted goods, right? Most developed countries are the net importers of polluted goods produced elsewhere, especially the developing countries. Yes, the largest net importers of carbon emission intensive goods. Carbon emission intensive goods are US, Japan, and Germany, right? So the US net carbon imports increased 262 million tons in 1995 to 834 million tons in 2018. The OECD members countries which are developed are net importers. So the net importers of carbon goods. Okay. Performance in case of India. The data available from Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development (OECD) indicates that India is one of the leading exporters of carbon emissions embodied products. Carbon emission of embodied products, that means those products by doing the production of which huge amount of carbon is emitted, and that there is steady increase in the total carbon emissions embodied in exports. Such type of goods are getting increased in consumption. China is the largest exporter of carbon emission embodied products, followed by US, Russia, and India. India's total carbon emission exports increased from 83.3 million tons at the time of the joining of the World Trade Organization in 1985 to 426.1 million tons in 2018. In recent, export performance has been attributed to petroleum products, electronics, and chemicals. The recent export performance have been attributed to petroleum products, electronics, and chemicals. Reasons for relocation of polluted intensive industries. Due to stringent environmental measures adopted by developed countries. Pollution intensive industries show a tendency to relocate from developed countries to developing countries. Right, this is one type of solution. And those pollution intensive countries in tendencies, they are getting transferred to developing countries, right? With the lowest environmental standard and weak enforcement of environmental standard in developing countries, there is low enforcement of environmental standards. In order to cut the resource and labor cost, right? In order to cut the resource and labor cost, there is weak environmental standard. A phenomenon of researchers termed the pollution heaven hypothesis. Pollution heaven hypothesis, the developing countries are the lacks of enforcing environmental policies eventually become pollution heaven. So those countries who are, especially those countries who are producing carbon embodied products, they are coming to developing countries to produce those products, and that causes less environmental pollution in developed countries, more environmental pollution in the developing countries. The 2019 United Nations Climate Change Conference Copenhagen increased vociferous argument from countries such as India and China that developed countries who are consuming polluted goods produced elsewhere also have an obligation to clean up the mess. Right? Those developed countries who are consuming polluted goods should have obligation to clean up the mess. That means they should have some obligation towards reducing the pollution in the developing countries. It is demanded by in Copenhagen Summit 2019. Implications of exports of agriculture and food products. India is virtually exporting some of the depleting natural resources. Some of the depleting natural resources are water through exports. India is leading exporter of rice in the world market. India is indirectly supporting and exporting water to other countries given the rice is a water intensive crop. Right? India is exporting water to other countries. The virtual water trade have adverse impact on long-term sustainability and food security of the country, although there has been overall improvement in the water use efficiency. Although water use efficiency has increased, still the exporting of water may be detrimental to our future because India is an agricultural economy and the rice is a water intensive crop. India has an advantage so far as rice production is concerned. Mm. Agriculture water usage percentage of total available renewable energy resources has increased from 36.7% to 26.7% to 36% in 2022. So the agricultural production of food products, it has significantly increased. Okay, it has significantly increased. Agricultural production has significantly increased. And the water usage in agriculture has significantly increased. Despite that, India is exporting water to other countries. Okay. What need to be done? Countries has begun imposing environmental tax to address a broad spectrum of environmental issues. In order to ensure long-term sustainability, strict environmental measures need to be explored, such as revisiting the possibilities of increasing the environmental tax. Strict environmental measures, revisiting the possibility of environmental tax, uh, even though short-term implications, especially in case of drought fund, may not be pleasant. Right. See, government of India is imposing carbon tax against petroleum products and those products which are consuming especially in the industries and mm, uh, industries and vehicles. So, because they are the major polluters of environment, so they are paying carbon tax. Uh, Similarly, water saving policies can also seek to improve from water use efficiency. Improve the water use efficiency and also need of the hour in order to promote sustainable production of rice, also safeguard food security in the country. Recent export spike needs to be observed carefully. So we have to safeguard our food security. We have to sustain rice production. That's why we have to carefully we have to export it. An increased GDP as a result of expansion in export revenue can be utilized for improving the environmental quality. An increased GDP as a result of expansion in export revenue can be utilized for improving the environmental quality. In case of developing country, their GDP is increasing, and that's why we can spend our certain amount of resources in improving the environment. Okay. Some prelim facts. National Achievement Survey 2021 report. Recently, Ministry of Education has released National Achievement Survey. Ministry of Education has released National Achievement Survey (NAS). It is released by Department of School Education Literacy, Ministry of Education. It was nationwide survey administered by CBSE. The center was managed. The study survey was managed through technology platform designed developed by National Information Center. So this survey was conducted by Ministry of Department of School Education and Literacy, Ministry of Education. It was managed through technology platform designed and developed by National Informatics Center. The aim to access the health of the school education system. The aim is to access the health of the school education system in the country by conducting comprehensive evaluation survey, learning competencies at class 3, class 5, class 8 and class X in the period of 3 years. The last national the last National Achievement Survey was held in 2017. It was held at all India level and covered all government schools, central government and state government aided schools, right, and private unaided schools. In all government schools, the level of study, that is NS, was conducted. The survey was conducted at central government, state government, government aided schools and private unaided schools. Nearly the same percentage of students, 80%, also felt that learning was better in the schools because they helped receive from their classmates. Help received from the classmates, as well 24% said there is no digital device at home. 20% say there is no digital device that hampers their online learning. Right? 45% students found experience of joyful. 38% say that they are having difficulties in learning. 45% student found the experience is joyful. Students across various classes performed in better languages but lagged behind subjects like mathematics and science. Students lacked the subjects like mathematics and science. It shows that across various subjects and classes, SC, ST and OBC students perform worse than the general category students. So especially the SC, ST and OBC category students, they are performing worse than general category. It is significant to evaluate children's progress and learning competencies as an indicator of the efficacy of education system. It will help to unravel the gaps of learning. It will help to unravel the gaps of the learning. Why India then pursue green hydrogen? Why India pursuing green hydrogen? See, green hydrogen is produced by process of electrolysis. By electrolysis of water H2O that convert into hydrogen plus oxygen. Here, green hydrogen can be used as a potential resource regarding it is as a fuel, right? Under Paris Agreement, we have a Paris legally binding international treaty on climate change with goal of limiting the global warming below 2.2 degrees Celsius compared to pre-industrial level of 2000. The Paris Climate Deal there is 2015. There is a target to reducing the global warming by below 2 degrees Celsius by 2000. compared to the pre-industrial levels. India committed to reducing the greenhouse emissions by 30 to 35% from 2005 levels. And at 2021 Paris in Glasgow Summit, India reiterated a commitment to move from a fossil import dependent economy to a net zero economy by 2070. Right, carbon neutral country. It will be carbon neutral country by 2070. India's average annual energy input bill is more than 100 billion, and increased consumption of fossil fuel has made the country a high carbon dioxide emitter, accumulating nearly 7% of global carbon dioxide water. Right, there is 100 billion fossil fuel is born every yes, 100 billion petroleum products are born every year. So there is a huge carbon burden, which is around 7% of the global or the world. In order to become energy independent by 2047, government states the need to introduce green hydrogen. Right? Government green hydrogen alternative fuel. It's alternative fuel that will make India a global hub, major exporter of hydrogen. Green hydrogen is an alternative fuel. Government is also going for ethanol blending or biofuel, or that is producing biofuel from genetically modified crops and algae, non-food crops and food crops by various means to produce biofuel, that is ethanol blending. Government is also targeting for ethanol blending of 20% in the petroleum products by 2026. So by 2026, government will add 20. Government will add around 20% of the ethanol to the petrol. That is ethanol blending by 2025 and 26. The National Hydrogen Mission was launched in August by 2021 with a view of cutting down carbon emissions and increase the renewable source of energy. So, government is dependent on hydrogen energy and to increase the renewable energy. Advantage of hydrogen as fuel. Green hydrogen can be stored for a long periods of time. We can produce electricity using fuel cells. In a fuel cell, the device that converts the energy into chemical into electricity. Hydrogen gas reacts with oxygen to produce electricity or water vapor. Right. This is how hydrogen is created. Right. By by dividing hydrogen to electricity to oxygen, by dividing water to oxygen and hydrogen. Hydrogen thus can act as an energy storage device and contribute grid stability. Oxygen is produced as a byproduct. 8 kg of oxygen is produced for 1 kg of hydrogen. It can be monetized using for industrial and medical applications and enriching the environment. So simultaneously, when water is broken by the process of electrolysis, it will produce hydrogen that will be used as energy. It will also produce oxygen that will be used in the medicals and enriching the environment. Right. So for today, the lecture end here. Like this video, share this video, and subscribe to VANIK-IAS.